What is up, gearheads? Hey, listen, welcome to another video on House of Dula. I'm glad to have you guys and welcome. And this time we're going to be doing something a little bit different because we're not working on this. Stay tuned. It's good to get this thing out. So listen, I've been driving this thing quite a bit lately. It's I really missed it. I love the Mustang. I love the Torino. I love them both very much. But this really, honest to God, is the first video of me working on the Torino. And I hope there's gonna be a lot more to come because there's so much I want to do with this car and I'm so anxious to get it back on the road. But if this is your first time seeing the Torino, let me show you a little bit. Let's go check it out. All right, man. This is it. This is a 1969 Ford Torino. Same as a Fairlane. It's a full roof. Not a lot of these around. If you want full details on this car, it's not perfectly clean, but if you want a ton of details on this, definitely go back and watch the video. I've got a video that kind of showcases the Torino and kind of the history of it, how I got it, how long I've had it. And anyways, looks a lot better on the outside. It definitely needs some work, but I've done a ton to this car, and mini tubbed it, built my own subframe connectors for it, and I did all the paint and body work. I did all the body work on it and everything except for the paint. Had a guy shoot it, and then I, cut and buffed it. And anyways, let's just get straight to the meat of what we're here for today, guys. I've got a small little 302. So all this actually is a stock 302 that came with the car, but it is running AFR heads and a Comp 262 cam, along with some upgrades like long tubes. I've gotten rid of power steering. I've really simplified the engine bay and got rid of everything as I could. So I converted it to manual. It's running a 3G alternator, and it's running a MSD ignition, and it's been converted to a DuraSpark style distributor, which is kind of cool. Got rid of the points. Other than that, the fuel system on it's massive. It's running a fuel system big enough to handle the big block that we plan to put in it. The fuel system's got an Aeromotive, the vane style pump here, and it is loud as it can be. It's running -8 all the way from the tank, the rear tank here, all the way to the back. All the way to the front. You can kind of see the mini tub down here. So it's got a braced 9-inch housing with 30 spline, or 32, I think it's 32 spline axles. And it's running all Caltrac racing components in the back here. So it's got Caltrac leaf springs, monoleafs, and Caltrac traction bars. And you can get an idea here of, Caltrac bars and the mini tub operation that had to happen there to move all the springs inward, along with the sunframe connectors. All right, there it is. Guys, I found this online. This is a TCI torque converter. It's got a 2800 stall, and it is a 26 spline for a C4 transmission. And I got this. The guy who got it actually owns a shop in Dallas. Really cool shop, by the way. Is Dallas, I think, Classics and Classic Restorations, I believe. But he had this in one of the customer's cars, and it didn't work well with his cam, so that's too big. So I thought I'd give it a shot because the torque converter on this car is 100% stock. Believe it or not, I have had the transmission rebuilt when I rebuilt the motor. Pulled it all out, sent it to transmission shop, had them rebuild a little C4 in it, and then didn't do anything with the converter. I left it stock. So this thing starts spinning. It starts making power about 3,000 RPM, just with the way the cam is. I tried to build it as torquey as possible because it's a big car. It's by no means fast. Definitely looks cooler than it goes. So that's why we're going to be putting a 460 in it, and this is for another video for another day, but this has been sitting here a long time. Got all the parts and the crank back over there, but we do want to build a 460 stroker. Probably want to use that crank and put a big block in this car because that's what it deserves. But as far as the transmission goes, it's always just been really sluggish, and it needs some sort of a converter. Like, I know it does. Even though that's a 2800 stall, it may not be right for it. It's going to be a hell lot better than the stock one that came in this car in 1969, because that's what's in it. It's a Ford converter. It's not fast. You cannot spin those meats on the back of this thing. So I've always wanted a torque converter for it. I actually called TCI up, back in 2009, and I gave them the specs of my car, the way that it sits right now. And then they gave me a torque converter that was, I think, 3000 to 3200 stall. It's one part number up from this one. So this one's just a little bit lower stall than what they recommend. So I still think it's going to be a hell of a lot better. The price I got for it, seriously, I got it cheap, guys. I paid $100 for that thing. So we're going to just throw it in, see how it works, because I don't know, it ought to make it more fun to drive for sure ought to make it way more fun to drive. And it's going to buy me a little bit of time to have some more fun in it before I get time to rebuild my 460. So I cannot wait to do some work on this car. It has been way too long. But we got to pull the transmission out. And the garage, the transmission's been leaking for quite a long time. So you can see the floor here is pretty nasty. This cat snuck in. That's pretty cool. And it's been leaking crap everywhere. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just prepping the garage so I can prepare to pull the transmission. All right. All right, get this girl lifted up. Hey, Happy New Year's, everybody. Welcome in 2020. It's New Year's Eve right now. Forgot to even mention that. All right. Guys, come down here with me. I do want to show you, even though it is nasty and dirty and oily, just how absolutely solid this car is as far as rust. There is zero rust on this car, and the floor is absolutely just solid as can be. You can definitely see the subframe connectors that we built here for it some time ago, and yeah, so I cleaned it up just a little bit. This is no doubt going to be a dirty job. And again, guys, just remember, this has been here for like 15 years, this setup here. And it is time to do something about it. But what we're going to do is ignore some of the problems with it here, because I did pretty much teach myself how to learn or work on cars with this car when I was much younger. So we'll fix a lot of this stuff. But I do have what we're going to do is remove the linkage first. This goes up to my Hurst shifter. So we'll remove the linkage. We're going to remove the kickdown cable, but that's already been taken care of for us because it's been busted. So the kickdown is not working in this vehicle, obviously, for a reason. For that reason, I mean. So we want to remove the linkage right here. We'll pull this cotter pin out and remove it right here. That'll remove the linkage, and we'll remove it from the cable as well. You can see the bracket is actually connected to the transmission, so we want to remove the cable away from the bracket also. So this will be a screw nut. We'll unscrew here and pull the whole thing out. We're going to have to remove the vacuum actuator here. It goes right there, so we'll have to move the vacuum connection to the C4, and we're going to move the starter, which is right over here. It's got two pretty big bolts on it up to the bell house, but we have to remove that. We'll be able to pull the transmission out with the starter connected, and we'll have to remove the cooler lines, which are here. And lastly, we'll have to remove, if you can see it hopefully, the speedometer, which I've got in here as a this converts my digital signal, or converts a an analog signal from the transmission to a digital signal that goes up to my NVU speedometer gauge. So there is that needs to be disconnected, which is just a plug. Vacuum, cooler lines, starter, and then last but not least, we'll have to remove the drive shaft so we can pull it out of the transmission here. I knew I'd keep that loose. Okay. 916 on starter bolt here. I don't know, it's already loose too. It's already really loose actually. No matter how big I can get this or how high I can get this car up, it still doesn't need a lift. Okay. One bolt to the starter. Starter is out. I forgot to mention that. The starter's been pulled out. Okay, pull this clip off. So let me disconnect my transmission speedometer cable. So we'll move this out of the way. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the drive shaft in the back here on the 9-inch. So all we're gonna really do is just release these U-straps here and pull the drive shaft out. I've replaced this U-joint and it's fine. There's no play in it at all. But while I was under here, I was looking at the other side of the drive shaft and I know it's a bad angle, but there is, believe it or not, there's some play in here. A little bit up down, a little bit of side to side, and of course, it's always one thing when you start working on these old cars, but I'm gonna probably pull it out and replace the U-joint while I'm here. And I know we've got a kind of a mess here on the 9-inch as well. Everything on this car is leaking, man. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get underneath, get these, looks like a 7/16 bolts, and pull the drive shaft out. Alright. Okay, so really, on further inspection, this U-joint's fine. Where I've got a lot of plays in the input shaft of the C4 itself, unfortunately. Okay guys, I'm looking at the end of this tail shaft here, and I noticed that when I had the drive shaft underneath the car, it was playing, had a little bit of play in it. I thought it was the U-joints. U-joints are fine, they're solid. The play I was seeing was in the output shaft of the C4 itself. So when I looked at it, I read up on it, it's not supposed to really move with the tail shaft in it. I've got a little bit of pitting and rusting here. This may be from the car sitting and drying up, but most likely, just based on looking at the wear here, I've got a tail shaft bushing inside the tail shaft of the C4 that is worn out, which is going to cause the seal to prematurely wear, which also helps my leak. So I've got a leak because the tail shaft bushings are leaking, and this is completely dry, which is not good. There's just not enough fluid in the transmission. It's amazing it's been driving. I do check the fluid and I top it off often, but it must be coming out of the back of the tail shaft so quickly and so often that it just doesn't, it's not working. So really I shouldn't drive the car until we resolve this issue. What I'm gonna have to do probably is get the transmission out completely, have to remove the tail shaft housing completely, and get a new bushing pressed in, and also put a new seal in it. So I guess it's a good thing that we're going through this, but like most things, it's going to be a little more extensive than normal. We'll end up having to break up this video into a couple parts. But anyways, continuing on with the transmission, I'm going to go ahead and remove the cooler lines and start getting ready to unbolt the transmission. All right, get our old pan ready, because this is going to go ahead and leak, and that's okay. I know that's low. The transmission fluid's a low one already, so we'll let it leak. What's next? Let's see. Let's get the flywheel bolted, I guess. That did not want to come out. Okay, so since I removed the starter, and since I've got really no way to turn the motor, I'm gonna get myself a 5/16 and a breaker bar along with a swivel. And I'm just using the swivel just really for the extension, not because I need a swivel, but we'll be able to get under it and move the motor. All right, my impact just annihilated my swivel. It's a bad idea to begin with, so let's not do that again. I've got an impact swivel, so we should probably use that. All right, that bolt right there is stripped like no other, and I can't get it off. Now, I didn't strip it with the torque, with the impact wrench. It was already pretty stripped, and the impact wrench made it worse. So that is not coming out. These things are tight. I'm gonna have to get probably get a bolt extractor or nut extractor kit. I don't have one. Oh, this has been really easy. I haven't really had any problems, just that bolt right there. So, yeah. All right. Hey, kid, come here. All right. Well, our work for today is ended because I can't get that bolt out. So we're gonna have to get a nut extractor kit. And once I get that, I'll be able to get the rest of the torque converter, or rest of the torque converter disconnected from the flex plate, and then we'll remove it from the bell house and pull it out. And all right, pick this up at Lowe's. We'll see what it does. I've never used one of these before, but we'll give it a shot. Hopefully we can get this bolt out. So we'll see how this works. So what the purpose of these are is to grip it so that it loosens it. So we will see. You can see that it's kind of like got teeth in it a certain way so that it grabs the bolt. And as you tighten it, it grabs it even tighter. So the idea is as you loosen this, it pulls onto the bolt with these teeth and kind of grips it, hopefully pulls it out. Hopefully we'll get this guy out real quick. We'll see what happens. Wants to turn. There we go. All right, man, I had to use this on it as well. Probably had some Loctite on it, and I probably should have heated it up with a torch to make it easier. So note to self: next time, heat it up. But I'm going to be probably replacing these bolts. Well, I have to replace them now, anyways. So, all right, so that does remove all of the torque converter to flex plate bolts. So that allows us to move the transmission out with the torque converter still attached. And really the only thing holding the transmission in is the cross member and the bolts on the bell house itself. So let's get this old C4 started by, well, let's go ahead and remove, I guess, the bell house bolts, and then we'll move the cross member next. All right, you're gonna have to get creative with some of these bell house bolts and some extensions here. And I'm using a completely hacked up swivel here because my swivel exploded on my last attempt of the impact. So I need to get a new swivel. But anyways, I'm able to get this one loose, and we should be able to get it out my finger, hopefully, get most of it out. Okay, so there's 5 bell house bolts. The 2 on the back side here on the bell house, I had these extensions to get behind the header. I got those 2 out. Fairly simple, just had to get a whole bunch of extensions. And then the other 2, or other 3, excuse me, you're gonna see right up here, you got the 2 top ones right there. You can see them on the top of the bell house there. So I should be able to get those with a wrench, and you'll see one with a dipstick. The transmission is going to right in the back there. So, yeah, you can see it right there. So hopefully I can get to all 3 of these with just a wrench. And reaching over the back of the motor. That's gonna be a little bit easier than laying on my back and trying to get sockets and long extension snakes. That thing's crazy. So we'll try to get some good old ratchet wrenches and just try to get back there with some muscle, wrench them off. transmission is out, and it made a nice big puddle. That's cool though. We made a kitty litter dam starting to leak through it, so I got to go get some more cat litter. The transmission is extremely dirty. It's nasty. It's filthy, so it's going to get a good cleaning before we do anything else. Then we'll go ahead and pull off the tail shaft and get that seal replaced as well. Just kind of get the transmission somewhat freshened up for a little bit before we put it back in the car. Here's the deal. So, quick little C4 lesson, history lesson here. 64 to 69 C4s have a 24-inch spline. I know that this is a 69 transmission because of a couple things. The bell house does not have a separate bolt on it. So 64 to 69 C4s have bolts going through the bell house. Actually, what's holding the bell house in is the pump. If I take the converter out, the pump itself is holding the bell house in, whereas the 70 and up C4s had separate bolts along with the bolts going into your pump, but it has a separate bolt onto your bell house here. I also know that this is a correct transmission for this year because I know that it's stock because the car was 100% stock when I bought it, but it also has a vent tube right here along the side. And from 70 and up, they had the vent tube button right here on top of the tail house. So that tells me this transmission is absolutely a 69 and it is a 24 spline, not a 26. Now here's the deal. This is my fault. Because I emailed TCI, oh God, back in 2009. I kept the email and I still had it. And when I emailed them, I gave them a long list. Guys, when you order a torque converter, you have to fill out a long spec sheet. There's a lot of things that dictate, your stall speed. So whenever you send an inquiry to TCI, they ask you a bunch of questions: car weight, gear ratio, engine cubic inches, your camshaft profile, all that stuff, because they need to know that. Your stall speed is dependent on load of the vehicle. Load of the vehicle is going to vary depending on weight, gear ratio, tire size, and then when your power band starts coming in the motor. And the camshaft kind of dictates your power band. All that kind of indicates what type of stall. So they sent me back a 3000 to 3200 stall Street Fighter TCI converter, right? And it was a 26 spline. So based on that information, I bought this one thinking that 26 spline was correct for my vehicle and for a 64 to 69 transmission. Turns out it was most likely wrong. TCI sent me the wrong torque converter, so if I would have ordered it, it wouldn't have worked. Same as this one's probably not going to work anyways. We'll pull it out and get it installed, but I got some things I have to do. I had to pull out the seal, and we have to replace the seal in the transmission too to fix the drive shaft wobble. But that's going to have to wait until next time because we're not going to do that this video. This video's gotten nice and long, and we will have to continue this on the next part. So stay tuned to find out what we're going to end up doing with this C4 and where we're going to go with the Torino here. So guys, that's it, man. I'm wrapping it up. Hey, follow me on Instagram, and we will talk to you guys next time. Take care.